Hello, my name is Julius Karaoke, and I'm going to be your trainer for SPSS. So, welcome all, and Happy New Year. So, in this session, we are going to cover introduction to SPSS and also learn some data entry uh, basics. I believe some of us have interacted with the SPSS before, and SPSS stands for Statistical Package for Social Sciences, and it's a software program used for statistical analysis and data management. We are going to look at the components of SPSS very fast, and to make you understand it better, I think it would be appropriate for me to open Kobo interface. So allow me to, sorry, not Kobo, SPSS interface. Allow me to open SPSS. And if you open SPSS, this is how it looks like. We have different components. So in this window is called the data editor. And the data editor, it has the data view and also the variable view. And also it has a core interface where the primary window, where it's the primary window where you enter, view and edit your data. So in a data view, here it displays data in spreadsheet-like format, like that one in Excel. It has rows and columns. Rows represent the observations, while the columns uh, represent variables. You can see here the first column we have var, which means the variable columns. When you click on the variable view, here it's where or it allows you to define and describe the characteristics of each variable. For example, name, type, labels, we have the missing values, and so forth. We will look at the different variables shortly. So that is the first component of SPSS, the data editor with the data view and the variable view. We proceed to the next component, which is the toolbar. The UXS toolbar, when you come on the menu, and before I proceed, I think it would be best to let you know which is the menu bar. The menu bar is this one. It contains the drop-down menus categorizing SPSS commands. This one's here with the file, edit, view, data. This is the menu bar. And it is from the menu bar that you get the toolbar. Under view in the menu bar, this is where we get the toolbar. And toolbar provides quick access to frequently used commands and functions. This includes options for file management, analysis, execution, and customization. We also have the status bar, and it is located at the bottom of the SPSS window. This one with the IBM SPSS statistics processor, and it displays information about the current state of the program, including the active dataset, variable details, and ongoing processes. So those are the main components of SPSS, and there are more. I would request if you have enough time to go through all the notes, and you will get all these components. I am not going to go through the process of installing SPSS because I believe that you already have SPSS installed on your machines. So this will then take us to data entry uh, into the into SPSS. Sorry. So we are going to go through. I'm going to show you how to create a new data set on SPSS. So this is the process of creating a new data set, but I think it would be best if I did this practically. So before you start entering your data, you must define your variable. And defining variables is very crucial because it saves time. It also avoid errors, and also it ensures analysis is accurate and interpretable. So you first switch to the variable view. You have to define your variables. Allow me to repeat the importance of variable definition. But first of all, variable definition refers to the process of specifying the properties and characteristics of the variables in your dataset, which helps SPSS understand how to interpret and analyze your data. And here are different types of, or rather, different components of variable definition. We have name of the variable, which type of variable is it? We have the width of the variable, decimals, label, and so on. So we are going to look at each of the component uh, using a certain variable. And for instance, in our example here, we have these variables. We have ID, age, gender, and product rating. So our first variable name is ID. So our variable name is ID. And here, you are supposed to enter a unique name for each variable. And variable names must start with a letter and can include letters, numbers, and underscores. But always remember that it should have no spaces between the name. If it is two names, you have to combine maybe using an underscore or using different fonts. So that is how you enter the name of the variable. So under this variable type, so for usually here in the variable definition, it's like we are feeding in the questionnaire that we send to our respondents. So ID usually is the number of respondent that responded to a particular question. For example, if we have ID number 1, that means that that person respondent was the first one to respond to your questionnaire. So obviously, this type of uh, variable would be numeric. We have different types of variables, but this one would automatically be numeric. There are several types of variables, but the main ones are numeric and string. But numeric is for numbers, like 1, 2, 3, and so forth, while string is for text. Moving on to width of that variable. Width is the maximum number of characters to be allowed for each response. For example, if you had 100 respondents, you can set your width here. We have 100. If 100 is your upper limit, then you can set your width to be 3, to have a maximum of 3 characters. So that is what we mean by width. I believe you all know what decimals are. In this case, our ID won't have any decimal places, so we change it to 0. Then we have label. So in here, you're supposed to provide a descriptive label for the variable, which can be more informative than the variable name. So here you might want to include spaces or special characters, so it is not limited as is in for the name. As for the name, so here you might retain ID. Then you have the values. So this is a list of valid options. We have multiple choice for the variable, e.g. if it is gender, we have male and female. But for here, we don't have values. So you leave it for now. Here you specify any missing component. Here you specify any values that should be treated as missing data. So in this case, we don't have any missing data. Moving on to the columns. This is the width of the data column. This is the width of the data column for this variable in number of characters. It does not affect your data, so you might want to retain it the way it is. So aligning, this is a matter of how you want your data to appear. So this one, you choose how the data should be aligned. We have left, center, and right. So moving on to this component, measure. This is, you specify the level of measurement. We have nominal, we have ordinal, and scale. So if we start with the nominal variable, these are qualitative variables whose values do not represent any ranking. We have e.g. sex, race, tribe, country, district, and so on. And for ordinal variables, these are qualitative variables whose categories represent a level of variable being measured. E.g., we have the level of satisfaction. We also have the level of education. In other words, the difference between the ordinal and the nominal, they are both qualitative variables, but for ordinal variables, we have some order. For example, the level of education. So you can start with the highest level of education. If it is PhD, then you go to master's, then you go to degree, and so forth, up to the lowest. It has some order. But for nominal, it doesn't have some order. For scale, it's obvious. These are numeric variables that are measuring quantity, e.g. people or things. For instance, in our case ID, it's going to measure the number of respondents, which is numeric. So in this case, we have a scale. I believe we have understood. So moving on to our second variable, I'm copying this from the data from our notes. We have our second variable here is age. We have age. So obviously age will be numeric. Age, the wind, I say that wind is the maximum number of characters to be allowed for each response. Of course, age we don't you can't have someone who has more than 4 characters. 4 characters means from 1,000 years. So you can set your wind to be 3. Then number of decimal places, maybe someone is 20.5 years, which means 20 years and some for 6 months. If you don't want to include decimals, just want whole numbers, you can set this to be 0 or maybe have to like 2 decimal places. So in label is how you want your variable to appear when after analysis. So this one, you can name this one to be age of respondents. Remember that this type of component does not limit you to not including spaces between the characters. Sorry. So this one, we don't have any values. Can skip this. We don't have any missing values, columns. You can let it remain that way. But make sure this is a scale variable. Remember, a scale variable is a numeric variable, but the rest of the two are qualitative variables. But ordinal has some order, while nominal is a qualitative variable without any order. I hope that is well understood. Moving on to our third variable, we have gender. So here we have gender. Then gender, remember it's either female or male. So the type of variable, this is a string variable. And a string, remember string variable is a variable that has some text. It's a text variable. So you can set it to be that way. Decimal places, we don't have any decimal places for this since it is a string variable. Then how do you want this variable to the heading to appear in your analysis? You can have gender composition. Then missing values, you have none. Values, you have none. Missing values, none. Columns, you can leave it to be that way. And when it comes to measure, this is an nominal variable since you can't say that male has more gender than female. So it doesn't have some order. You can't say that males are more important than females. So since it has no order, it's a nominal variable. So moving on to our last variable, this is product rating. Product rating. So this one is since the rating might be 1 to 10. So this is obviously it's numeric. The wind you can set it to be at 2 or 3 decimals. You can reduce. Cannot decide to let it not have any decimals, then the table name you can use product rating. Then no missing values. Rest, I can advise you to, you can just leave it the way they are. Don't need to change anything here unless it's an very special case. So this one is a scale since these are numbers and numerics. Before I forget, for gender variable, you can define the values since you know that we have either female or male. So here you can come to values and gender, and here you can be able to define variables. You can set your variables, variable 1 to represent male, then you can add, while 2 will represent female. So that is how you define variables. After that you say okay. So here you're going to see that 1 is male. If you see 1, that is male. If you see 2, that will be female. So after this, you switch to the data variable and try entering some data for some few respondents. So if you switch to data variable, you will have the ID number 1. Maybe that person is around that 7 years. If it is male, it's 1. Remember, we defined our value for gender. So if you put 1, automatically you're going to get male. Then product rating, we can rate it out of 10. So this one may be a particular respondent gave it 6. So ID number 2, we have age. You see, we set the number of decimals for age as 2. That's why you can see that 7.00. But for this, we didn't have any decimal point. So the second, you can say that if it is female, you just put 2, it will automatically give it turn to female. So this one, you can say 8, and 3, 58, male, that is 1, 13, 7, another entry, 4, we have 34, female, I can say maybe 9. But if you want to make changes to your variables, you can still go back to the variable view. For instance, the age, if you want the decimal points to have no decimal points, you can return to 0 and go back to the data view. So what you have seen is that the decimals have disappears. What we mean by alignment, if you can see here, we have the first variable right, left. So the third variable is left aligned, which is gender. It starts from the left alignment, but the rest are right. But it depends on how you want your data to appear. So this is all about how you can be able to enter data into SPSS. So if you want to save this work, you want to continue from where you left. So you come to file, then you click on save as. Then you can choose where you want your data to appear on your PC. So maybe you want to save it on your desktop, Then you want to call this maybe on your desktop also. You can create a new folder and call it SPSS data. Then you can save it. Then under that you choose a name for your data. So in this case we can call it product product rating. So always go to include the SAP, which is the saving type for SPSS. Then you open on the folder you want to save, then save. So you're going to return the directory where you have saved your data under this machine, desktop, and under this folder, and that is your data name. So that's all for this session. Let's meet on the following session. Thank you.